Welcome to the SorareAndrews Podcast. I am Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdino on Sorare, joined as always by Andy Black, who you can find as Black on Sorare. Andy, we are a few minutes late, and Daniel Cooper in chat thinks that there should be a giveaway for everybody who was in the chat before we started. So what are you giving away?
What am I giving away? I think it's a great idea, but I think it should come out of the Sorare data war chest.
The war chest, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
I mean, I've seen that account before. I think that that is sort of a war chest of like cards that were donated to Sorare data.
I think some of them probably have your name on it.
Possibly.
Meaning before now, as opposed to, let's see, somebody wants some Mbappe limiteds. That seems like a stretch. Now we're getting greedy, I think. But anyway, thank you everybody for joining in. Mike Baston, who is always the first one, I think, in the chat. So Mike, thank you very much for your dedication of watching, and obviously Daniel Cooper for this wonderful idea. We've got Sojiwa, who we were just talking about before this, because Andy and I were talking about the reward reveal videos. Reward reveal is a very difficult thing for me to say for some reason.
3 times fast, please.
Yeah, it's like 1 time slow, and I'm already struggling. So Rasko Masaki here, Georgie, I apologize, I'm never going to get your name, and Quinny, always great to see you. Apologies if I missed anyone as I'm going through here. But so this podcast topic was utility is not equal, and I think we could actually stay on topic for a while on this one, because there are a few different ways that I wanted to talk about this, and you wanted to talk about one specific player. When I told you what this topic was, do you want to talk about him right away or no?
Yeah, we can. But I agree. There's a lot of different ways that you can have this conversation, and I think that makes it really interesting. The player kind of in question, and it's going to take the discussion in a certain way. But Lorenzo Insigne. It ain't happening. It's an interesting card right now on the platform because he's
right?
Back. Is he?
Okay. Or he just came back. Yeah.
I thought he might have come off injured in that.
Oh, did he already? I don't have him either, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Not that I don't care, but I don't really care.
Right. I don't follow too terribly closely, but yeah, the value of a player like that is interesting to a person depending on their gallery. And I don't want to pick on anybody, but I saw that Duncan, a guy that I'm friends with, Duncan, purchased his card, and Duncan doesn't play Champion Europe. And that really got me thinking, where it was like, wait a minute, you don't play Champion Europe, and you bought this card that, can only be used in Champion Europe right now. And he sold all of his European cards. So he's going to have a month where he can't use the card until all of his MLS cards fire up, and then he can use them all in global.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting when you look at particular cards and their relation to your gallery. And that card might be more valuable to somebody like me that can use him right now than somebody that can't use him right now. And the discussion can go on and on with different things, scarcities, particular players.
Yes. So I wasn't necessarily thinking about Insigne when I asked you about what you thought about this topic, but he was such a clear example, and he probably should have been the reason I asked, because I had a conversation with Keith that we all know as Gator Guy 231. If you don't know him as Gator Guy 231, you know him as the guy who created Knighton season by buying all the Brad Knightons at the beginning of last MLS season and then selling them when Matt Turner went on international duty. But he was trying to tell me that Lorenzo Insigne was the perfect card for me to buy, because I've been trying to improve my MLS teams while also playing Champion Europe.
Yeah.
And this guy is literally a Champion Europe, an elite Champion Europe forward. And then I goes into MLS. And
I think you might have told me that, and I was like, Gator Guy is 100% right.
He was definitely right. I did not buy Insigne. He was much more than I was hoping to spend. So he was more than I wanted to spend on a Champion Europe forward, which is dumb because Champion Europe forwards are expensive. But he was way more than I wanted to pay for an MLS forward. And so it was kind of like, I'm going to be paying more than I was more comfortable paying that for a champion Europe forward than I was an MLS forward. And I didn't want to buy a champion Europe forward who was going to turn into an MLS one. So I don't know. I just have so I didn't buy him, but the utility question kind of came up because you were saying that if you're buying Lorenzo Insigne now for the time that he goes to dominate Major League Soccer, then you need to play him with good cards now. You can play him in global, but it almost seems like a waste to spend that much money to use him in global. But you have no other choice unless you have champion Europe players.
Right.
And that just kind of started to snowball of
when he comes to MLS though, you're going to play him in global, right?
Well, I don't have him.
But if you had him,
I guess. I guess. I don't know.
I feel like, and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong here, but I feel like when you have those cards, those elite America cards, those 1 ETH America cards, that really, I don't know, there's maybe a couple of them.
Yep.
I almost feel like you need to run those in global because what do you you could win a star reward that's worse than the cards in your lineup.
I think you have to consider when that happens. I don't know if they will do this again, but last year they did this run where they were only rewarding cards from leagues that were playing. So in the summer, you weren't going to win Challenger Europe or Champion Europe players because they weren't playing.
Yeah.
So playing Lorenzo Insigne in the summer in All-Star just means that you are winning either America or Asia cards, which is fine.
Is that the case?
I don't know if that's the case.
Yeah.
I want to believe that I heard somewhere that they decided that was a bad idea. But I specifically remember, I only remember this from when I won All-Star D4 and I won Carlos Heel, who is one of those 1 ETH MLS cards now. But when you win Global All-Star and you have people who are you could win Neymar, and then you look at the player, the prize pools that actually paid out, and it's oh, these are all MLS and Asia guys. It was oh, I actually had no shot at winning Neymar or Mbappe or whoever. Right. So where was I going with that? Did we fall off the rails already? Oh, so I think I think they changed that this year. I don't know that they change it. I think they change it. And so, yes, I think you play him in All-Star. I agree with you. But you're playing him with MLS cards anyway, because that's what's happening at that time.
Right.
But yeah, so the utility, that started the utility conversation. And the ways that I went originally were people who were looking to buy super rares. And they were well, if I want to move from rare to rare pro, I have to buy some super rares. And then some people who've been playing rare pro for a while are maybe I should get a unique because then I can start playing the unique in rare pro. But if you
mean the unique in the super rare division? Super
rare, excuse me. Yeah, sorry. So if you go from super rare pro to super rare, you're oh, maybe I should buy a unique. And it's well, you can only play it there. And part of all of the cards we buy, the consideration, it's baked into the price of how often where you can use it and how often. U23 cards are fun because it's oh, they're young guys, blah, blah, blah. But fundamentally you can play them in 3 different places. And so they have more utility. But I was in a conversation today where somebody's I'm thinking about getting into U23. And it's okay, well, do you have a goalie? And oh man, they're expensive. And it's it's not worth buying U23 cards if you're not going to buy a goalie because it's really hard to win with a common. Yeah.
And there's no threshold to kind of bail you out when you do well, but not well enough.
Right. And so now, if you don't consider the goalie right away, now you're buying U23 cards, which are generally more expensive because they can help you win other U23 card prizes, but like you can play them in multiple places. But fundamentally, if you don't have the goalie, you're like taking out one of the places you can't play. You're reducing your own utility,
Right.
But you have to pay for the utility. And so I think that when people are buying cards, you have to consider like there's the potential utility and the actual utility. And like I bought one of the U23 players I bought a few months ago was Nicolo Rovella, and like he's a Champion Europe player, and I'm like, sweet, I can play him in Champion Europe. And it's like, well, who else do you have in Champion Europe? Oh, nobody. It's like, well, no, then you can't play him there. Like,
Right.
That's not utility. That's just potential utility. And I think just people need to think of that more.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I don't want to immediately take us off topic, but Mike Baston mentioned Alan Polito in chat, and I just wanted to bring up the previous podcast that we did on pain. Yeah.
Oh man, that's one of like your Sorare experience biggest what ifs.
Well, I don't think it's a what if anymore. It happened.
Well, right.
I bought the Alan Polito Super Rare from Powell last summer, and I don't know if he has a 1-year warranty on his purchases or not.
Do you have the receipt?
I think that the receipt's out there on Sorare Data. If I can track that down,
there you go.
I might have to contact him and see if he'll take it back.
But weren't you considering the Johnny Russell instead?
Yes. Oh,
that's really the
you
what
mean
if.
That what if?
That's the what if, not the should I have bought Polito. It's like what if you bought Russell instead of you just never know.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. Hedinho is asking me about these pictures in the background, which I believe are actually partially inspired by you, Andy, because I think these are all done by my kids.
Ah, okay.
And I think I remember you had some of your kids draw.
It was during the Euros. They drew some of the flags.
The flags, right? Yeah. So I have changed up my background for those of you who watch regularly, and apologies for those listening on the audio version and not being able to see this glorious artwork. But my daughter likes to draw and paint and all this stuff. And so she did some of these, and she did the PSG logo because she's like, oh, it's a soccer thing. And then my son, who really doesn't have any interest in arts or crafts, was like, I love soccer. Let me do one. And so he attempted to do the Bayern Munich logo. And the other two were what I asked for. I said, I need some landscapes, make it real class up the joint.
Nice.
And I had this kind of rainbow thing going on.
Yeah, it looks great.
But Hedinho was asking if they're NFTs, which, my gosh, that is such a great idea.
Yeah, I think that's like $1 million right there. 10 ETH.
Yeah. Maybe I could trade one for like an Mbappe super rare.
Yeah. I think that there needs to be like something vomiting in there, and like I'm just like thinking of like all the NFTs. Like there's the mutants. Like come on, we got to spice those up a little bit.
Yeah, you're right. I should just. Do I have to get one of them to throw up on it, or
I don't know. Yeah.
My NFT knowledge doesn't span beyond Sorare at this point, or at least my experience. So anyway, do you think Lorenzo Insigne will be the best player in Major League Soccer? Let me rephrase that. Do you think the one or borderline 1 ETH price is worth it?
Well, I think that you're going to be waiting a long time before you get the MLS utility from that card. We're talking about like a July transfer. Is that right?
Yeah, July 1 is the first team.
And then when does the World Cup start?
Well, I assume the season will end before the World Cup.
But do you think Italy wants him pounding around in the MLS?
No.
But can they do anything about it? Like he's going to want to play, right?
Yeah, I don't know about that actually. I think it's a very difficult situation for the first year.
Yeah.
And
Well, new
like
everything is generally pretty tough on a player. New team, new club,
everything,
new
new
country.
country,
Yeah,
yeah. So the way that I was looking at it was, I don't think you're really going to realize his upside until 2023.
I agree with that.
And I think the idea that like he will start the first match after July 1st is also kind of incorrect. Like he's going to play the rest of this European season. And so the off season, like he's used to having, his season end in mid-May, and then matches start up in mid-August. And obviously there's some preseason training camps and whatnot. But like MLS is the heart of the season is July and August, like when he's like easing his way back in. You have to imagine that he will take a break from May until.
I mean,
whatever.
we see all those off-season photographs of those guys on their yachts,
Right.
So I fully expect that.
Oh, you expect him on the yacht?
Yeah, he's got to get on his yacht.
As he should.
Yeah.
I get it. And Quinny's saying Javinko signed in January. I don't remember how. I mean, January is like mid-season. Like he didn't go through an entire season. And so, I don't know. I just feel like my guess is he's not truly up and running until like maybe August 1st. Like that feels good. He is obviously a player this season dealing with a lot of injuries, and not getting hurt before the World Cup, I would imagine, is literally his top priority. Like whatever you do, don't get hurt before the World Cup.
Do you think that the Chiesa injury, like further changes that at all?
Don't get hurt?
Yeah.
Sure. Like why not? Like,
well, they're not even qualified for the World Cup yet, right?
Not yet.
Not yet. I mean,
that's true. If he doesn't make it, yeah, you're right. If they don't make it, then I think literally everything changes.
Okay.
Like I don't think he shows up any earlier, but
when is there don't they have like a playoff game or something?
Yeah. Let's find out. I don't even know.
While you're looking that up, somebody had a question about historical. Oh, right. About historical Sorare points for a player like Javinko. Obviously, that doesn't exist, but what would be your best bet in finding something comparable? Maybe just like the FOTMob score or something.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I think Javinko level production is absolutely like within a reasonable expectation for Insigne. And Javinko is literally like one of the greatest players in the league, like ever. Right. And so like I'm not doubting that Insigne won't be great at some point. It's just that the current price requires you to expect it right away.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's all. And so, yeah, I don't know. But I think if you're looking to buy him, I think then you 100% need to consider like where you're going to play him. Like, I don't think you can just buy him now and be like, yeah, I'm going to use him in MLS. And it's like, well, it's a long time before he's in MLS. Like MLS starts soon, but he doesn't.
Right. How about limiteds? Do you think that the utility on those cards, obviously it will change if they add like limited pro, but do you think that affects value of the cards, and more divisions is more utility, meaning typically you're looking at an increase in price?
Right.
Is that kind of the consensus on those cards?
I would
think
assume
that's baked in.
Yeah, no, I don't think limited pro is baked in yet. I think limited prices go up if there is another division that you can play. But that does like bring me up to another thing of if you are somebody who's only bought limiteds now, and then you're like, oh, let me buy a rare. It's like, well, you need 4 of them to actually enter anything. Like you can't go from like buying all limiteds to buying 2 rares because the rares don't get you anywhere.
But if they did limited pro, you could maybe get away with like 1, 2, 3, whatever the rule is. Right.
Right. You need limited pro for people to be able to not have to buy 4 rares to get in.
So does limited pro increase the price of rare cards? Because you get even more utility out of your rare cards. Yeah. I
actually think it still increases the utility, but I think if they do limited pro, then they have to take out rares in super rare. Like I don't think
that they have to do that, right?
I mean, they don't have to now. But that's certainly, I mean, I think more people will play limited pro than the number of people who use a rare in super rare. But
that would be the equivalent of like if you can use 1 rare in super rare division, that'd be the equivalent of using 1 limited in your rare divisions, a la the limited to replace the common goalkeeper.
Right. Okay. If that's the case, then I think they have to take the unique out of super rare and start a super rare pro.
Okay.
Where you can use your uniques. And that's where you cannot use your rare. Like I think having a division where you can use 3 scarcities is really dumb.
Yeah.
And not dumb from like a practical standpoint, but just from a uniformity standpoint.
Right.
And uniformity is the only reason why we think limited pro should exist.
I always do think it's really weird, and I saw it this week because with the number of like lineups that like there's just not a ton of like options for lineups this midweek, and you see a lot of teams in the super rare division that only have 3 super rares in them. I don't know if you've noticed that, but they'll have a unique and a rare and then 3 super rares.
Huh.
I've seen quite a few lineups like that. And it's odd to see that because typically the guys that have uniques don't have to play a rare. They play 4 super rares in a unique. Yep. But you're seeing lineups like that, and I find it kind of funny.
Right. I think I looked at that from a recent game week, but the game weeks have been so small that it's almost not even worth looking at it. But I mean, it's an option. There are 4 different ways you can make lineups in super rare. And that alone makes it kind of weird.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And he's just asking when SD leagues are coming back, and I don't know. Sorry. We were definitely waiting for more leagues to pick up, and so they have picked up.
But is this weekend? Is it pretty much full this weekend?
There's no La Liga this weekend, but everything else is pretty much back.
Okay.
Except obviously Russia and Austria.
Right.
In terms of the European leagues.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of opened the lineup builder for this weekend, and I just what I do is I just look at what goalkeepers are available, and that gives me an idea of what my teams are going to look like.
Sure.
What's the first thing I do is I go to All-Star Pro, I sort by goalkeepers, and I'm like, all right, this is what we're looking at for the week. Like that's the kind of the baseline.
Mm-hmm.
Gives you an idea of the number of teams that you're going to be able to play. And
yeah.
I don't know. That's the whale outlook over here.
Yeah, I started an all-star limited and I just build from there.
Yeah.
But I was joking to you that there have been like lineups that I want to play that I haven't been able to play yet. Like I bought cards like specifically to be like, this is my U23 rare team. And like, yep, still haven't played it yet.
Well, you bought Messi's limited and you've used it, I think maybe once or twice.
I have not used it yet.
Let
me rephrase. I've used it twice. He has yet to play.
Yeah.
And you used it.
Yeah, you loaned him to me on one. I think I gave you. I loaned you a goalkeeper and you loaned me Messi or something. So that was
Messi for Okoye, so we could both get lineups in.
That's right.
Yeah, Messi didn't play, or maybe he did play.
No, he did play that week. Yeah, he didn't score, but he scored like 60 points on all around or something.
I literally have not played him yet. Like I've gotten 0 points out of Messi since I bought him.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Neymar too.
Neymar's still kind of cheap, isn't he? And I heard he was returning to training. Is he?
He's popping.
Well, he returned to training, I think, this week or something like that.
I remember talking to you because it was part of the boom conversation. And I'm like, I'm going to see how much of a boom we really are. So I was tracking Messi limited prices. And I bid on one, and I was like, if anybody outbids me, then we're like really in a boom. And nobody outbid me, and I was like, oh no, man.
Uh-oh.
Now I have this card. But it seemed okay. I was listening to, I forget whose podcast it was, but it just went back to that point, and a lot of people made this point of, if we really do get hundreds of thousands of people on this platform, there are going to be enough people who want a Lionel Messi card that getting one now, even in limited, should be okay.
Yeah. Agreed.
And I
like
just
the most iconic player
right.
of all time.
Right.
People are going to want that card, whether it's for in-game utility if he's still playing at PSG, to MLS or whatever. They're going to want the card for utility or collectability, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I just don't feel like there's a ton of cards that are actually collectible on the platform. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know, maybe count them on one hand, maybe two. But maybe there's like some fun nuanced cards, like, I don't know, there was the Jared Bowen mustard on his shirt card that somebody was trying to talk about one time, that was, like an air card. And yes, there's like air type cards, like the cards that don't have a body on them. It's just like a name.
I still can't believe I didn't buy that one.
And yeah, I think that there's like that could be collectible to individual people. I just don't think it's like mass. It doesn't have that mass appeal that like a Messi or Neymar, Mbappe, Haaland card's gonna have. Ronaldo. I mean, that's it right there, right?
That's it, I think. Yeah. Would you consider the Bowen mustard card a unique? With more utility?
Yeah, I mean, there's only one of them, right?
I mean, there's only one Bowen unique.
I still want to know what happened there. Like, did he show up to picture day with mustard on, like a mustard stain? And then they were like, whoa, got to go put another shirt on, buddy. And then he came back, and then they accidentally used that picture for something. I don't know.
Oh, you don't think it was like a pre-Photoshop picture? I actually don't even think it was the one of 100 either.
Yeah. No, yeah, it was like mixed in.
It was mixed in, yeah.
Yeah. I have no idea. No idea.
Me neither. One of those so rare mysteries that may never get answered, at least on this podcast. So, have you ever bought a card thinking you would play it somewhere and then realize that you can't because of the rest of your gallery?
Yes. And this is like, I think the funnest part to talk about of utility is not equal. Like, I think a good example is Noah Lang for me. Like, he's like the most premium, like SO5 card in my gallery. Like, he's like the U23 nuts,
Sure.
And obviously that card is expensive, and I bought him honestly to go Mbappe fishing in U23 D3 at the time.
What a great phrase, Mbappe fishing.
And, like, I thought that made a ton of sense. But, like, looking back, I mean, a rare Noah Lang that's captained is the same thing.
Certainly in D3.
And then you can just get a different super rare to, like, I think that those premium cards make more sense when you can captain them and get the bonus out of them. Like, that Noah Lang super rare belongs in D2, so I can captain him and get, full, like, those really premium cards that you always want to have your captain. If you can't captain him, then what the hell's the point? Buy the rare, captain that, and buy a super rare of somebody else that you could have captained. Like, I could have captained, like when I run him in D3, I'm usually captaining, like, I don't know. At the time, it was like Vlasic, because Vlasic was really good in U23 when he was back in Russia. But it's like, or a defender, like somebody like Angelo or Tadibo.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I could captain those cards, or I could buy their super rare cards for a lot less than buy their super rare cards for a lot less than buying the Noah Lang super rare.
And then use the Noah Lang Super Rare and D2 to win yourself a tier 3 Super Rare.
Right, and then that's kind of what happened. So I bought I eventually that kind of occurred to me that, hey, this card belongs in D2s or in the Super Rare divisions. Whether it's U23, obviously makes the most sense, but I think it makes sense for me to run that card in Global more than it does to run them in D3 or Rare Pro, because I can captain the card.
Yeah.
That is a card like I said, I always want to captain him. I think it makes more sense to run him in All-Star D2 over U23 D3 a lot of times. So looking back, when I bought that card, it actually didn't make that much sense for my gallery because I was not buying him to compete in U23 D2. Granted, now that like we're at where we're at with rewards and everything, and it's like, the U23 D2 rewards are not always, I don't know, all that appealing.
Yeah.
And I also really do not have the gallery to be able to like run him year round there. Like when MLS is running, I have a lot more options, and I can MLS and Argentina and MX. Like I can use him in the Super Rare U23 division, but not year round and not most of the year when Belgium's actually in action. So, looking back, does the utility of that card make 100% sense for my gallery? No. Do I love the card? Yes. Would it be more powerful to someone else? Yes. That card would be a lot more powerful, I feel like, in somebody else's hands.
Have you considered selling it and getting a rare?
No.
Why not?
I don't know. I love that card.
And you really have no reason to try to get into the U23 Super Rare now.
Well, I mean, I will play it in like when MLS is going and like when it makes sense, like I have the pieces. But like for instance, this weekend, Noah Lang's suspended, but if he wasn't, I think he's suspended. But if he wasn't suspended, I probably wouldn't have a competitive D2 U23 team. I mean, I could make it happen. I could put 5 guys out there and just not win. Or I can take him. I can take him and move him over to All-Star with 4 really good players, and then we can compete. And so I think that like that's kind of like not ideal for that card.
Mm-hmm.
Probably don't want to be running him in All-Star, but I'm gonna use him a lot differently than somebody else would use him.
Right.
And I think that like somebody with a really, really premium gallery might even run him in D1 with 3 or 4 uniques. They might use the Noah Lang Super Rare in D1 or the unique division. And yes, you can't captain him, but you can still, when he scores 120 points, that's still pretty good for your D1 lineup.
Do you think you should be able to play multiple Langs in the same lineup?
What, like a unique and a super rare?
Yeah, or a super rare and a rare.
No, that's
okay.
just absurd.
Okay, just. I was thinking about that the other day because I had duplicates of whatever. I don't even remember what it was, but I was like, I wish I could play both of these together. You can't even do it in training, in case you were wondering.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
I tried it in Sorare Mega because you can't, and it doesn't work, by the way. But I was thinking this would be the best way to exploit Mega 3. Is you just take the one player and you put him in there 3 times. Sven comes, and if he blasts out a 90, then you're winning.
They're too smart for us. They knew we were coming.
Yeah, didn't work.
Scam. Oh well. So the way that I wanted to go through all this was basically by scarcity of like, if you play this and you're thinking of moving here, make sure whatever you buy makes sense. But it pretty much all came down to the fact that at each level, you really don't need to buy that many more cards, but it's more important to think about like where you can play these cards than anything. Like I was saying before, like the U23, part of the reason the prices are up is because you can play them in U23, All-Star, and whatever the regional is, Challenger, Champion, America, whatever.
Right.
But I think just fundamentally people need to consider that when they're buying cards. It's like if theoretically you're looking to buy a U23 card because you're like, oh, I want to be able to use them for U23. You need to have a plan for what to do if you use that in U23. And if you don't have, even forget it like a goalie, like if you don't have a U23 forward, then you're not going to be able to get the utility out of those cards. And I just felt like it was something a lot of people were ignoring because I was having conversations with people. They're like, what do you think about this guy? And it's, whoever it is. And it was like, well, where are you going to play them? I was like, oh, well, probably just All-Star. It's like, well, do you need a Champion Europe player in All-Star? Like, why are you paying the extra? And they're like, well, I could use him in Champion Europe too. Do you have a Champion Europe goalie? No. Well, then you're not paying for.
But they might. At some point, they might win one.
That actually happened this weekend. Although actually it wasn't a champion. I noticed that I think it was 9th place in All-Star Rare had a common goalie, and they won a goalie. And I was like, wow,
that's cool.
They actually did it. And then I went to their gallery and it was like, oh, they have Hugo Lloris. They already have a goalie. They actually don't need this one.
Yeah. They just didn't have one this week. Yeah.
Just this week. Yeah. But I don't know. I think just fundamentally people need to, like, when you're considering buying cards, you need to go further than like the singular spot. Like if you're paying for the 3 or 2 levels of utility, the utility matters more about where your gallery lets you go than where the card lets you go. That's all.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. Do you think kind of similar to what I was talking about with Noah Lang, but a little bit different? Do you think that a card can be too good for someone's lineups?
That's a fun question. Yeah.
Like,
yes, absolutely. Yes. I'm thinking that like if you are somebody who, and it doesn't even have to be budget related, but yeah, if you buy some sort of superstar player,
let's say Mbappe,
that I feel like I'm not sure you're buying an Mbappe without enough surrounding it. Like I think
that's my point though. What if you do? What if you have Mbappe and then you have like the rest of your lineup are all like 0.1 ETH type of guys?
Yeah, I mean, but I don't even think you need to go that high. Like I think if you are playing Insigne, if you're paying 0.8 for Insigne and you've surrounded him with 4.04, 0.05 guys,
yeah,
it's not worth it. Like you should sell that card and strengthen
and upgrade everyone.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was Dylan when he was on a few weeks ago when he was worried that his Luis Sinistera card was
right.
like 60% of his gallery value. Like you're just not getting enough out of the card that you bought. And granted, he had the benefit of buying it lower and being able to experience the increase. But if you're buying a very expensive card, like you have to realize that it's really only worth buying that card, at least from an SO5 perspective, if you can put it in a lineup that helps you win. And like one card does not help you win enough. It's just not like one card can't do it.
Now for sure.
No way. Yeah. You can't win with a 100 and 4 38s. Like you're not going to win anything there.
Yeah. I'm trying to do the math here real quick. I don't think that's going to cut it.
No. It's a lot of thresholds. And like, you shouldn't be buying a card like that for a threshold.
Right.
It just doesn't. Yeah.
I shouldn't try to just like captain my Neymar in Global All-Star D4 and try to churn out thresholds with it.
I think that's a bad decision. That's all. That's all. But I also don't think you buy Neymar. Like, I think if you buy Neymar, you should play him in Champion Europe. I'm going to have a new video out soon, basically about why guys like Neymar should never be played in All-Star. And it's all about the rewards.
Should never be played in All-Star. Yeah.
No. Like,
interesting.
The best Champion Europe cards should just be played in Champion Europe.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
I remember for a while HG was saying some of those cards should be played in All-Star.
I think cards like Morioka should be played in All-Star.
Yeah.
But I think the best Challenger cards should be played in All-Star. But Champion Europe, like you go into All-Star hoping to win Champion Europe cards.
Right.
Like you don't go in.
So what you're saying is you have data on the number of Champion Europe cards that have been won in All-Star.
I do.
Yeah.
And I'm sharing it. Don't worry.
That's great.
Yeah. But it's just like, and I think part of what I'm still looking at is whether Sorare has ever actually said that, distribution should be equal in terms of where cards are rewarded. Like, will we have the same number of Neymar cards rewarded in Champion Europe versus All-Star? Or Mbappe if it's All-Star versus U23 versus Champion Europe? And I think
at one point they did. I think at one point they did have like a distribution, but that obviously all could have changed.
Right. Yeah. I think just the way that we've seen the way that I've seen the data of like where cards are being distributed, it's not close of where you should. I'm trying to see if I can pull it up here because I gave you that Neymar one, right?
Right. And while you're pulling that up, Mike said, haven't you got to start somewhere with a plan? It just depends how long it takes to reach the goal to get the intended or full utility from. And I do agree with that. Like, I'm getting there. I'm close to getting my money's worth with Noah Lang as far as like putting him in to a D2 lineup every week that makes sense for him. Mm-hmm. So, but the clock ticks on a U23's utility. So, I think that's kind of maybe a little bit of the counter argument there. Like, you can't take too long.
You also have to hope that they're not so good that they go to a league where they can't produce it anymore.
Right, because the clock's ticking on that as well.
Right.
Like Noah Lang this summer, I am going to be very scared.
Yeah,
he goes to somewhere like, I don't know, Everton or something. Phil's asking as well, did we buy any Player of the Year cards? I did not. I think they look cool. I just haven't been messing around in the limiteds too much right now. But
I almost bought one, and it was Messi. And I thought if there was any card that should hold a value, it's Messi. And I'll be completely honest, and I apologize to whoever was responsible for this at Sorare, but I think the cards are ugly.
Yeah.
I don't like them. And so I didn't buy it. It was also much more than I wanted to spend. But Messi was the only one I considered. Like, I had the bid box open, and I decided not to do it. So to quickly go back, I was looking at Mbappe. So some of the data I've been looking at, the data I'm looking at is basically like where cards are distributed, rewards are distributed for all star players. Mbappe's obviously one of them. So it goes back to game week 120, which is about a year ago, I guess. So 35 Mbappes have been rewarded. 21 of them are in Champion Europe. 11 of them are in U23. 2 have been in All-Star. And 1 in some special weekly that I was not a part of. But 2 in All-Star of 35. And it's like, if I realize that like not everybody puts in lineups that are like, I'm going to win whatever they're in.
Right.
But like every time you submit a lineup, you're just like, maybe I come in first. And if you are submitting lineups in All-Star rare, just the way that the distribution has gone, you have, in rare, you have no chance of Mbappe. Like the 2 Mbappe All-Stars were in Rare Pro. They were D3 back then.
Okay.
Like, Mbappe's never been rewarded in All-Star Rare.
Well.
So do you put your best lineup there? I mean, there are other good cards there for sure.
Sure.
But just the way that all of the top cards, and particularly U23, because they have more places that they have to distribute them. Like, I don't think there are going to be that many Haalands in All-Star or, Verts, Donnarumma.
Yeah, I don't think I think most people shouldn't cap their upside, like, of not being able to win one of those cards. Even if you don't have like the most premium lineups, the upside of one of those cards, I don't know.
There's no higher.
Yeah.
Like,
And if you can't win it there, then you shouldn't play your best lineup there.
Like that's how I started to feel. And it's not like, and it's obviously like it's not that you can't win good cards there.
Right.
But if you want to give yourself the best opportunity to literally win the best cards on the platform.
I mean, what's an Mbappe? 20 grand? I don't know.
For rare?
It's like 5 ETH or something, right?
Well, the super rare apparently is 30 ETH, according to Zora, who won one previously and then won Haaland this week. But I think those are the two cards you want, regardless of scarcity.
Yeah.
When you put a lineup in and you start dreaming that you came in first place, you either want Mbappe or Haaland.
Yes.
And if that's the case, then you can't ignore where they're being rewarded. And they're basically not really being rewarded in All-Star. Haaland's barely been rewarded as it is. So like maybe it's just a small sample. Mbappe's is big enough for me that like I think you're capping your upside if you go to All-Star. And again,
and especially All-Star rare.
Especially All-Star rare.
Yeah.
But again, like you can win there, but it's just much harder. Like Donnarumma has had 24 rares rewarded, 1 in All-Star rare. Vinicius has had 2, Alphonso Davies 1, Verts 2. Like the numbers are just so small, and these guys have been rewarded in like the 20s. That I don't know, unless it's true that they have to be equally distributed, in which case we should only be going into All-Star because they have to make up for it. That's all.
And what's the distribution look like in Champion Euro rare division? It's higher, like higher than like say All-Star D3 by a lot, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
for sure. Like Champion Europe rare will get more of the top tier prizes than All-Star Rare Pro.
Yeah. Phil, I don't disagree. Like, I think people are just happy to win cards. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
But still, that upside dream, whatever you want to call it, of winning that top card, I think shouldn't be ignored. I don't know. Easy for me to say.
I think many. I mean, this is going to sound very obvious, but like, I think the distribution of lineups would be significantly different. The distribution of entries would be significantly different if there was no threshold.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like
for sure,
the number of All-Star rare entries would just plummet because there's just not that there's no reason to do it, but like that's just not where you're going to get the best prizes. And it sounds it sounds a little whaley to be like, oh, I only want to win Mbappe.
Right.
But like we all want to win Mbappe. Like that's why we play.
Yeah.
And like we obviously appreciate every card that we win before that so that we can work our way up. But like that's the card we want to buy or that we want. Whether it's Mbappe or Haaland, or like if you're a Messi guy, like you want to win Messi. And ultimately that's what you do. Like we talked about this previously. Like I stopped putting my best like MLS cards in Champion America. So I was like, I don't want to win. I don't want Carlos Heel to be the best card I can win. I want it to be Mbappe.
Right. Sorry, I'm looking at Chad Irving's lineup from, I guess it's last week. He
Rare
says
Pro.
that he played 5 rare cards in America Rare Pro. Yeah, he had the Mozo,
And won it.
Alan Mozo 100, and it's a full Puma stack. And yeah, I watched the game last night, and I don't know that I can pronounce the team that they played against. I think it's Toluca, and they were awful. It was like my Sunday morning men's league team. Like they were bad. and Puma destroyed them. Yeah,
I mean,
congrats.
That's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
So what did first place? Thiago Almada. That's a great card. It's a U23 card too.
Yeah,
Extra
that's
utility.
a cool card.
Now you have to go buy now you got to go buy David Ochoa. Congratulations, Chad. That's awesome.
Yeah, very cool. Might have a Atlanta United player here shortly.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. They just got to get rid of Barco. Sorry, Quinny. That's just what has to happen. So I also noticed this week, I think it was this week, the top, let me see if I can pull it up quickly. Whoops. Oh, maybe it was last week that the top 3, so I was trying to put all these together, the distributions, and I'm working on, what's this week? I'm working on limited too, to be like, all right. So the other thing that we know is how many limited cards are, or how many of every card is rewarded. Like we know that there are 1,000 cards that could be produced for limited, and is it 400, or I don't know if the ratio is the same. Somewhere between 400 and 500 will be rewarded if they get to 1,000, obviously.
Right.
So it's like, all right, so where are these cards getting distributed? The top 3 places in Champion Europe Limited won Messi this past game week.
Top 3, you said?
3.
Yeah.
First, second, and third. The only difference between finishing first, second, and third is the ETH that goes on top of the cards. They all got the same card, just different serial numbers, obviously. In fact, if you're a round number person, coming in third was best because it was 198, 199, and 200. But so now I'm like, do we now have to think about specific, like how many times somebody has been rewarded? Not even in total, or specifically in total, because it's like, not that you can like decide when you win, but like I was looking at the U23 stuff, like Donnarumma has been rewarded more, like twice as much as anyone else in like the top, like the top U23 players. So there've been like 17 Donnarummas rewarded in limited and 6 Mbappes. And so now it's like, should I now be putting more, not like effort, but like, should I be prioritizing U23 limited more? Because I know that they have so many more Mbappes to give away than like Donnarumma. Does that make any sense? Like, should we be doing that?
Well, like, guys, I mean, like, Haaland was on quote unquote cooldown for a long time, right? Like, his cards his cards didn't come out like at the very beginning of limiteds, and then he got hurt and was on cooldown because he was hurt, so they weren't rewarding him as a hurt player.
Yep.
So I guess that means they'll reward more of them, right?
I mean, fundamentally they have to, right? Like we know that they do it, that they give out these rewards. Like there have been 5 Haaland limiteds rewarded and 3 rares. And I think 2 super rares, one of which was this past game week.
Yeah.
So like when you look at that, there have been 5 Haaland limited cards rewarded, 6 Mbappes, but 17 Donnarummas, 13 Verts, 12 Vinicius. Like they got to catch up, right? So maybe we get a bunch now. So maybe like if I didn't prioritize U23 limited until now, like maybe I should, because these guys got to get rewarded at some point. And
I never really thought about that, but I guess it does make sense.
But like on the flip, should we be doing that for rare cards? Like if we know that like they've given out a lot of Mbappe rewards. I mean, they have the whole list of like how many are left on each.
I feel like we're counting cards now.
I think that's okay. No? I mean, we're literally counting cards.
Right. Yeah. Like that's what it feels like. Like you're, seeing if the deck is positive or not or whatever. I don't know the exact term, but yeah, that's funny to think about. And I think that you're right. Like, if there's an advantage to kind of knowing what might be rewarded, yeah, you should take advantage of it. Like everybody was talking about rewards this past weekend were going to be jacked because the cooldown period had just, I guess, reset or whatever. And it's like, I don't know. That doesn't affect what I do, because what am I going to do? Like play better lineups? Like I'm already trying to play the best lineup I can. So it doesn't change anything for me.
Right. Like if Mbappe gets rewarded, you're not going to be like, I'm not going to play this week because I can't win Mbappe.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's less that than more like just what I said. Like if we get to a point where you're just like, man, they really haven't rewarded enough of whoever. Maybe I should sell something here and invest more in U23 and see if I can win one. Now, of course, this is like looking at star cards, which are extremely difficult to win. Like, and now here I'm talking about like picking and choosing which weeks I'm going to win, a tier 0 card. But I don't know. It was just something that like I was looking into, and I'll be honest, I'm not totally sure how to process this information, because I don't think it necessarily change. I mean, I don't think it changes what I do, but it might. I don't know. Yeah. Like if some of my best U23 cards are Challenger, and I see one week where like, man, they haven't done Tadic, Hilaire, Morioka in a while. Like, should I put those cards in Challenger and just punt U23? Like, maybe.
Yeah.
But I gave up on Challenger anyway. Phil's bringing up the AJ's training info this week. Did you happen to look at it at all?
I did. It was interesting. I don't know that I have the time. Like, I just have too many training lineups. So like my priority one is make sure that I train all my good players, regardless of getting them in a lineup with players that play. But yeah, that's super interesting. And I did not know that anybody out there was actually running the numbers on that. So it's cool to see. I don't know that it changes a whole lot of what I do, just because I don't know. It's so time consuming to do training lineups, and so like, I don't know, like boring and awful. And I'm just going to make sure I do it, and I'll try to get my good players in lineups with guys that play, but that's about it.
The idea of doing them all from scratch every week just made me shiver. So basically AJ did a whole breakdown of how to best maximize XP output from training lineups. And effectively it's making sure that you have guys that don't have games in with guys with games up to a certain point, because that maximizes the XP, because you don't get the same XP for every lineup. It's completely
it's based on the number of points that get scored by the players in that lineup, and they get more XP the more points that they score. So if you have 4 guys that play with your Messi that doesn't play, it kind of jacks that Messi card up a little bit. But when I say jacks him up, it might get him 20% more XP. And when you're talking about 75 base XP with 20% more, I don't know that it moves the needle a ton. But I guess if you do that every single week, it definitely is going to add up over time. So,
yeah, I think it's also an issue for a very small portion of the user base. That I think if you have 4 guys who have a game and you're like, oh, let me get Messi in, just throw that in a lineup somewhere. Right. Like, it's literally something that people who enter everything should be doing. Right. But there are not that many people who do that. It's like a handful of people.
Skate Perez said, or is asking a question about the best place to start in for Challenger, going to buy a rare team at the end of the season. I think you mentioned Belgium. I don't know if it is Belgium or not. I would probably wait till. I mean, honestly, I would go to the league that you feel like you're most knowledgeable and comfortable in, and I would try to get 5 players from that league, whether it's Belgium or Austria or Eredivisie. I think that those 3 are good ones to look at. Russia can be kind of weird with the break. I guess Austria can be kind of weird with the break too. So
you're bearing the lead, man.
Yeah,
Turkey's where it's at.
Yeah, maybe Turkey's the play. And what I found is really hard with Turkey is research, because I had like the guys that I was always researching like had common names, like John Doe type of names or like John Smith type of names, and in Turkey they were like, oh, Russian or not Russian, Turkish pop star, guitarist, and I'm like, oh, that's not my soccer player.
That's not the guy I'm looking for. No, I definitely recommend Turkey. There's some ballers in Turkey, And I know nothing about the league, but I'll say if anybody hasn't subscribed to Quinny's YouTube channel, Quinny does some awesome deep dives, and I would definitely check that out because was like one of the first people to talk to me about turkey, or that I saw talk about turkey. And yeah, definitely check that out.
And speaking of utility is not equal, Alan mentioned maybe Russian players seem to be pretty undervalued at the moment. And like speaking like kind of towards the utility piece here, like for people that the break they can't like overcome, like a smaller gallery, that break is going to be killer to them because they're going to have a month they can't play. For like a gallery like mine. Like, yeah, I'm buying Austrian players. I'm buying some Russian players because I feel like they're maybe undervalued, but I can survive the month of January and the beginning of February without using those players because I have other challenger players that I can use. So like utility is really based upon can be based upon the individual or the manager that is buying those cards.
That's a great point. And I think it kind of piggybacks on what you were saying about if you're building a challenger team, it makes a lot of sense to do it with 5 guys from the same league because at least they're all playing at the same time.
Right.
Like I think one of the things that we all like to think about with All-Stars, like, oh, you can get 5 guys from all over the world and put them together. But it's like,
right.
If they're not playing at the same time, you didn't build anything. Like you just have a few cards and that's it. And
you're going to have just too many weird times where, there's a COVID outbreak in one of the leagues and they shut the league down. And then now you got to find another guy to play defense that week or whatever. Yeah,
no, I think that's a really good point. Quinny, you're just do it, Quinny. I know
he's trying to buy Gio Reyna, I guess.
Just don't let anybody else do it.
Yeah,
he had a bid in like 3 days ago, and somebody outbid him. I don't even know when it closes, but
that's a card. Looks like within the next 2 hours, maybe 3 hours.
Yeah, that's a card Quinny should have. I'm not saying that you should spend your money, Quinny, but I'm just saying that's a card that when somebody's like, I wonder who has a Gio Reyna, you'd be like, oh, of course Quinny has one.
It's going to be over an ETH if he bids again. But that is totally a Quinny card.
Right?
Yeah.
Should be right into the Hall of Fame. I don't even know what Quinny's Hall is. Probably a bunch of Celtic guys, but yeah, nobody's selling either. In fact, this looks like nobody's ever sold one. Which might be the case. But yeah, I think that's a good point about Russia and Austria. And I feel like we talked about that previously. I don't think on the podcast, but like there were a few Austria guys I was looking at, and you were like, you realize you're not going to be able to use this guy for months, right? And I was like, yeah, I'll get there. But yeah, finally trying to utilize.
I think it depends too. Like I think like a couple of those teams, like Red Bulls play like in the are they in Europa? Or are they still in? Did they qualified in Champions League? Didn't they?
I don't have any of them, so I don't even know.
Oh yeah, maybe it was Europa. I don't remember. And then like Lask plays in Europa Challenger
Conference League. Come on, disrespect.
Whatever the hell that is. And then I think that there's maybe another or 2 more teams that have like that. I don't know, a couple extra weeks of utility there that they start back up early or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like Liga MX right now. They started up nice and early.
Right.
Now we still have to wait another month for Argentina.
Right, because they delayed the league 1 or 2 weeks?
Now 2 weeks, yeah.
So they delayed it 1 week, and then they just announced that they're delaying it another week? Gotcha. I love that. Keep delaying it. Delay it. You know what? Push it all the way back and start it up right with the MLS. That'd be perfect.
Get out of here. Liga MX whale just want all the America rewards now.
Yeah.
No, I need my you need your Nicholas De La Cruz super rare to be back in.
I can wait.
Back in the lineup. I can't.
I'll run him. I just want to run him with Michael Bradley. That's all I want to do. Put those 2 in the same lineup. I'll be cruising to the rewards.
Straight into D2.
That's right.
With those 2, yeah. Then you don't have to worry about what first place is.
Speaking of De La Cruz, he's recovering from COVID, I think, again, or maybe for the first time. I don't know.
First time, I think, yeah.
But that's good that it's good he's getting it out of the way now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Hope he's good. And yeah, I don't know. I just need Julian Alvarez to stay also. My gosh. Boy, do I need him to stay.
That would be wonderful. One more year, or maybe even just 6 more months.
I think he should just sign a lifetime contract and never leave Argentina. Get right into the national team that way, no? Right ahead of Messi. I don't know. I need those guys. He was another one, though, that I bought. I definitely bought for Champion America, and then he just started killing it, and I was like, oh, I'll put him in
you
U23.
Originally had Rafael Borré, right?
Yeah.
And all along you wanted Alvarez, is that right? Or did
Yes.
Right. Because I remember we talked about this, and I think that Borré was doing too well. Like, you had to have Borré at the time.
Yes. He was fine. Like, he was a good card. And went on an absolute heater after I sold him.
Yeah.
Like, that card, this will be the last thing because I realize we've now gone long. When I decided to play Champion Europe, I had Rafael Borré, who's a starting forward for Frankfurt.
Yeah.
So I had him from River Plate. He went to Frankfurt, and I was like, I should just sell because he's not going to play as well there.
Right.
But I didn't. So then I was like, oh, I'm going to make a Champion Europe team, but I need a forward because Borré is not good enough.
Right.
So I was choosing between, while I was building my team, I was like, I'm either going to get Jonas Hoffman from Gladbach or Filip Kostic from Frankfurt. And I was like, Kostic makes sense because I have Borré, but I'm getting rid of him. He's not good enough. So I buy Hoffman, who immediately gets hurt. Kostic absolutely crushes, is now double the price, and Borré had decisive in like 5 of 6 games after
74, 71, 74, 64. Yeah.
Right after I sold him. Like, I had the solution the entire time, and I just sent him away.
You could buy him back.
For nothing. I could buy him back.
You could definitely buy him back.
I would love to buy him back now that ETH is down, and it'll cost me more ETH than... I sold him at a loss too, like from when I bought him, because I was like, I would rather use the ETH for somebody else. I probably used it on Hoffman, who's been hurt since. Just killer. But I had that utility, so that was part of the whole utility thing. That like Borré left and went to Champion Europe, and I'm like, oh, now I have Champion Europe utility,
right?
But I have no other Champion Europe card, so I have it's no utility. It's still just All Star.
Yeah, I think a lot of people probably think that right away when they have a player that goes from like a smaller league, like a challenger, like a JPL guy that goes to Champion Europe, and you're like, oh, I have a Champion Europe guy now. And I think a lot of times you don't. And I think Borré maybe he's going to be one that does turn out to work out. I don't know. And I don't know. I feel like they're a fun attacky type team that.
Oh, they are.
He's going to score some goals there and work out. And
they're in Conference League or whatever, I think, or they were. I don't know. I don't pay attention to them now because I don't have them anymore. But
right.
Yeah,
but you will when you rebuy them. I just keep saying that because I know personally that that's like the most painful thing is to sell a guy and then to be like, no, it actually makes sense that I have to, like, I should rebuy this guy, and it hurts.
I'm not going to do it. There are other Champion Europe. Like, I'm not going to do it. I understand the people who like sell a rare and then buy the guy's super rare like later on, but I can't do it.
Or if you're doing it like the profit, like you're selling now because their value is like peaked, and you're like it's going to come down, and maybe you're right, and the value does come down, and then you rebuy at a lower price. Like, I think that would be more palatable than rebuying at a loss.
Right. I sold at a loss, and then I'm going to rebuy it like twice of what I.
Right. And it's funny because it's all just a mental thing. Like
oh yeah. It
like
should have no bearing whatsoever.
Right. If you need the forward, you need the forward. Like,
right.
Like, and if he makes sense, he makes sense. But
right. The price is there. It's there. Yeah.
It's
absolutely.
Totally a mental thing.
Yeah. That guy. I don't even know who I sold him to, but I hope you won a lot of cards with him because the guy's been crushing and he deserves to be in winning lineups. That's all. It's just not my winning lineups since I don't have any yet. All right. we've gone too long, so I'm going to cut it off. Were you going to say something?
No.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So thank you to everybody who has joined us here live on YouTube. If you guys wouldn't mind liking the video, that's be very helpful. Thanks for participating in the chat. It's always nice to have people joining us so we can get completely off topic, and then we have to rein you guys back in so that we can get back on topic. It's really you guys who push us off, not us rambling about it. If you are watching some replay of this, if you would also hit the like button, or if you're listening to the audio version, if you could please rate and review it wherever you listen. Andy and I will be back next week with another topic. If there's anything you guys would like us to touch on, please feel free to reach out. You can find me on Twitter at Andrew M. Laird. Andy's at ablack86. We're also available in the Sorare Discord. I am under Lairdinho or Andrew M. Laird. I can never remember, or actually I don't even see what it says. So it's one of those. And Andy is at Black. So check us out. Andy, I will talk to you next week.
Sounds good. See you.